Hey, welcome to SI Now. It is Tuesday, May 9th, and I'm Maggie Gray. Coming up on today's show, we have a music industry insider break down Lonzo Ball's new track. And who has been more impressive in their early sweeps, the Cavaliers or the Warriors? We begin today with the heartbreaking reality for one Football Hall of Famer. Nick Buoniconti was once a bruising linebacker for the two-time Super Bowl champion Miami Dolphins. Now, the most simple tasks have become a source of frustration, and life no longer resembles what it once did.
My name is Nick Buoniconti. I'm in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. I was a member of the 1972 undefeated Dolphins. Someone said I took 500,000 hits to my head. I can't remember how to tie a tie. I can't remember how to lace my shoes. My left arm won't do what my brain tells it to do. The answer would be no. I would not have played football.
We were married in 2000 and together for 5 years before that. I started to notice small things 6 years ago. There is a 12-year difference in our ages, and I just thought it was that.
I was diagnosed with many concussions, at least 10. Super Bowl VI against the Dallas Cowboys. I was knocked silly, and I really don't remember much about the game.
Nick started falling, and when someone is a fall risk, you want to find an answer why that person who was always agile on his feet is falling all the time. It took a while to have him understand that there was something seriously wrong.
I've gone to UCLA to try to get a proper diagnosis, and they're the ones who I just can't do it.
I mean, Nick always said that football gave him his greatest joys and his saddest moments. Now, it has basically taken Nick's life as he knew it away from him. He can't play golf, he can't read a book, he can't read the sports page of the newspaper. You know, when you start taking everything away from someone, they want to give up. So my challenge every day is not having Nick give up.
I got neurocognitive and what is that, Lynn? Neurocognitive and neuromotor deficiencies, and they're only getting worse, they're not getting better. It's just a damning way to finish a career. The league really hasn't stepped up and really hasn't done what it really could do. And the settlement, it's for the NFL, it's not for the players.
We're both lucky that we have the resources and we're able to do this, and that's where the NFL should have some responsibility.
CTE to me is something that the NFL doesn't recognize until you die. That to me is the biggest criminal act that they could have. I feel forgotten. I just wish they would think of the guys who did pave the way. This is not a game we're playing. This is life or death.
I navigated by trying to keep a positive attitude and remembering all the unbelievable times Nick and I had together. That sustains me through this time that's really, really difficult because, you know, Nick was my best friend and he still is, but he's just a different best friend now. just keep telling myself I'm doing this for other NFL wives, believe me.
Yep. And you're doing a great job with it.
Shoot. This is hard.
For me to say how what I thought the game, I can't even think anymore.
That is just absolutely heartbreaking to watch. Scott Price wrote about Nick Buoniconti, and he joins me now. Scott, it's clear there are some bitter feelings between Nick and the powers that be in the NFL. What does Nick want from the NFL now?
You know, more than anything, I think what Nick wants, not necessarily for himself, but for the players who never really have the advantages that Nick has, both mentally and resources, he wants there to be extremely clear and obvious outreach from the NFL and guidance for these ex-players, especially those of his generation who are not, say, internet savvy, who are not as connected as the rest in the world, and those who are sort of cut off. He feels that they've really been left to die, for lack of a better word, or certainly left on their own devices. Now, the NFL certainly does have outreach programs. They've gotten better with that since 2007. But the fact is that there are many players who feel cut off, who are not connected to their teams, and those who don't have families who are there to organize meetings and with doctors and appointments and sift through medical records and think about and orchestrate meetings with doctors about perhaps experimental treatments. They're left on their own resources and they don't know where to turn.
Well, unfortunately, Nick and his whole family, they've spent their lives dealing with doctors because Nick's son, Mark Buoniconti, suffered a devastating spinal injury in a college football game. He's been a quadriplegic for over 31 years. Scott, in what ways is Nick's new reality impacting his relationship with his son, Mark?
Well, it's amazing because Nick was always the rock for Mark. I mean, as Nick and obviously Mark's mother, Terry. But Nick was always there for Mark. He would be in hospital rooms with him. And not only that, but Nick ran through walls to raise money and made it his mission to be to find a cure for spinal cord injuries and basically to see his son walk again. That's not likely. But what's happened is that over the years, Nick was the one who was urging Mark to get past self-pity. Nick was the one who was always saying optimistic and always pushing forward as much as possible within the bounds of Mark's limitations. And now the roles have reversed a little bit. Mark is, in many ways, incredibly upbeat considering his circumstance, very realistic. You know, Mark says, you know, outwardly, look, let's not sugarcoat this. My life sucks. I mean, this guy is paralyzed from the neck down. So he's not living a fairy tale, and nor does he think he is in any way. But he really does regard his life as gravy at this point. You know, the prognosis for someone in the mid-'80s with Mark's injury when he first came off the field was less than 20 years. And Mark feels that the 13 years past that he's now gotten are indeed gravy. And he really wants to see Nick sort of break out of this cycle of thinking constantly about his ailments. And he knows this is impossible in many ways because it's so central to his existence. But he wants to somehow break the cycle so that Nick can stand up and somehow enjoy living once again.
It's very complicated, the family dynamic. You write all about it in this piece about Nick Buoniconti. Scott Price, really appreciate your thoughts. Thank you so much.
Thanks so much for having me.
Lonzo Ball attempting to go back-to-back, in a sense. Days after the big baller brand dropped the ZO2s, the NBA hopeful dropped a track rhyming over Drake's Free Smoke. Lonzo is just the latest athlete who wants to be a rapper. Let's take a listen.
Real one since day one. Don't believe me, say something. MCM on the backpack. Real hitters in the backpack. ZO2 time DC. Worldwide, shout out Triple B's. From the mill to the IE. Just got done with a shopping spree.
All right, that's the Free Smoke remix. Faith Newman is a special vice president of A&R and catalog development at Reservoir. Now, you signed Nas to his first record. You were the first female executive at Def Jam.
Yes.
If anyone is unquestionably qualified to weigh in on Lonzo's budding hip-hop career and prospects, you are absolutely that person.
Well, thank you very much.
First of all, does Lonzo remind you of anyone when you hear his track?
Oh, that's a good question. I hear a lot of different influences in what he does. I think that it's interesting that he rhymed over a Drake track because he has a little bit of a Drake flow to him. So,
okay.
yeah.
For athletes that want to become rappers, what does it take for them to be taken seriously and not just looked at as some kind of gimmick?
Well, it's really hard because I think that, especially like, you know, if you're in the NBA, you have to abide by a certain set of rules and regulations, and there's not an NBA for, you know, hip hop artists. So
you guys don't have a draft somewhere that we're not aware of?
No, there's no draft, but I mean in terms of what you can do and can't do, and what you can talk about and what you can't talk about. I think that it puts some, you know, restrictions on, you know, content.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, so maybe athletes can't be as honest as they want to be?
Yeah, or they can't, yeah, maybe not as, or talk about certain subject matters.
Okay.
Yeah.
Things that would really maybe connect a little bit
Yeah.
with the audience. The fact that
Yeah.
Lonzo has not played a game in the NBA,
Yeah.
as an executive, would that give you pause?
No, I don't think so. I actually think he's pretty talented.
Okay.
Yeah.
Flesh that out a little bit.
No, just from what I've heard, I mean, you know, it's all about being, you know, clever with your wordplay, metaphors, delivery, tone. I think he's, you know, he's not bad.
You said to me before we came on the air that you didn't know Lonzo until yesterday.
That's true, I did. Sorry, Lonzo.
That's okay, but
I'm not a...
He's on your radar now.
Yes, he is.
Okay, is this someone that you would take seriously? Would you sign Lonzo Ball?
If I heard, right now, from what I've been hearing, it's mostly freestyles and him rhyming over other tracks. I would want to know if he could make a fully formed song with a hook and everything else.
Okay, so
you
you'd
know.
want to see a little and hear a little bit more.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
so far he's got a...
So far, he's pretty good.
Okay, we like
Yeah.
to hear that.
Yeah.
I'm sure a lot of athletes have come through your office and sat in front of
Yes.
you wanting a record deal.
Yes.
Is there anyone you had to gently tell them, I'm sorry, stick with your day job?
Yeah, well, there was one, a professional boxer, a very, very, very good boxer, who was one of my favorites. I'm a big boxing fan.
Okay, not Mike Tyson.
Not Mike Tyson. That I know about, but it was a really, really, really bad demo.
What did you
was
say to a
tough.
boxer?
I've carefully said, I said that he should probably work with some different producers to bring out
It's not
something
your
else in him.
fault.
No, it's not. Yeah, it's not your fault. It's the producer's fault to bring out something in him that he hadn't yet, you know, been able to express. So, and give him a better sound, give him better tracks.
Okay, did he walk out of that meeting head down, feeling very dejected? Or?
No, I don't think so. I think that I handled it really, really well.
You handled it really well.
And I gave him some suggestions on people he should reach out to, who would be happy to work with him because of who he is.
So it just became someone else's problem.
Exactly.
Listen,
Yeah.
Faith Newman, you got to where you are by problem solving like that.
Exactly.
Leave
I'm
it-
like Switzerland.
Right. You're
Yeah.
like Switzerland.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much.
Thank
really
you.
appreciate you being here weighing in on
Yeah.
Lonzo Ball, and we'll see if there's more to come from
Okay.
one of the Ball brothers, big baller brand.
Yeah, that's right. There's 3, right? I learned that. And their dad seems like a great guy.
Would the dad ever be, if he could rap, is that someone you'd ever want because of he's already got some fame?
Oh, I don't know. I think he's maybe a little old for that right now. I don't know. Maybe you're never too old. I don't know. I'd have to hear him.
Enough said right
Yeah.
there. We'll leave it. Faith, thank you so much.
Thank you for
Appreciate it.
having
Of course,
me.
love Reservoir. Now, the Warriors and the Cavaliers have yet to drop a game in these playoffs. So which team has been more impressive in their sweeps? Watch this. All right, I'm joined now by Matt Dollinger. We're talking a little bit in the break there, got caught. You're the editor of The Crossover. So we just showed you the video of the Cavs and Warriors and their sweeps. Who do you think has been more impressive so far?
You know, I actually think it's the Cavaliers. And, you know, the Warriors, obviously, were talking a little trash about who Cleveland's played so far. But the Pacers gave them a real test in the first round. Those 4 games were only decided by 16 points. The Raptors are a team they had to beat in the East Finals last year. They swept them. I mean, the Raptors went out and they added Serge Ibaka and PJ Tucker just to stop Cleveland. That was the whole purpose. Didn't do anything to slow them down. So I give Cleveland the edge in terms of impressiveness through the first 2 rounds.
All right, very interesting there. Now, we have to go to Western Conference because Draymond Green on the podcast had some comments about Cleveland. He disagrees with you. He basically said, when you watch Cleveland play, you're only watching one side of the good basketball. That's kind of weak. I like watching a good game, not even necessarily that it's going to be a close game. I like to watch teams playing good basketball. When you watch them, you watch one team playing good basketball and everyone else do something. I don't know what that something is. Now, considering the Warriors have won their games by double figures, many fans feel the same way about watching Golden State. But does Draymond have a point?
No, he doesn't have a point. I have checked out of at least 7 of the Warriors' playoff games this postseason because it's not interesting anymore. I mean, there's this sense of inevitability with the Warriors where it's like, I know they have to play these games, but they don't mean anything. They're going to be in the finals in a few weeks. Can we just get to those games already? So the fact that Draymond Green's calling out Cleveland's competition is weird because, you know, they just swept the Jazz and the Blazers. The Blazers didn't have Nurkic in the first round. The Jazz kind of dealt with some injury issues of their own. So I think Draymond just had a mic in front of him and didn't have anything else to say.
Okay, well, speaking of people at a mic in front of them, the Celtics championship team had a reunion Monday night on KG's Area 21 segment on TNT. It is evident that there is still bad blood with former teammate Ray Allen. Listen to this. Okay, well, we all know what they said, right? We don't have to play the clip for you. They are very much beefing. Is it, I don't know, poor form for the Celtics to call out Ray Allen on television like that?
It's been poor form for a few years, but it's on both sides. This rivalry between them has been so strange. You know, title chasing in the NBA is pretty common at this point. For Ray Allen to go to Miami after winning a title with Boston, it's not unheard of. Boston has a big complaint with how he did it. So, you know, the fact that the Celtics are airing their gripes on TV maybe isn't the best look for them, but I found it fascinating because if someone like me, a reporter, were to ask, you know, KG or Rondo about the Ray Allen situation, I wouldn't get a real answer, you know, and Kevin Garnett's asking those questions and all of a sudden we actually find out what's going on. We actually find out it really is about how he did it and not the fact that he did do it. And they think it's on Ray to extend the olive branch. And I can tell you from following the story for a few years, nobody knew exactly what the deal was.
No, we didn't, and thought it might have more to do with the rivalry between the Celtics and the Heat at that time. LeBron James, obviously a big part of that. Perhaps that was where the bad blood is. I just can't help but see the irony here. That they're upset with Ray Allen for not coming to them and telling them that that he was going to be leaving for Miami. Yet they're going on television as opposed to going to Ray Allen to say, hey, let's clear this up. I mean, Kendrick Perkins said, you know, it's a miscommunication. Well, what do you think Ray would say as he's sitting on his couch? Okay, now this is a miscommunication because you guys are all on TV putting me on blast.
Look, they clearly feel betrayed. And, you know, maybe they thought they had one more title to win. Maybe that's really the thing that's, you know, digging deep at them. But you saw all of these guys leave the Celtics, all of them. And they all played for different teams, and they all went their separate ways. And Ray did it first, and he benefited from it. So, you know, to really, you know, slam a guy who was pretty much a class act his entire career for making a smart career move and a business move late in his career, I can't blame him.
Yeah, I'll say this, though. It was the best Area 21 of the season. It was fascinating.
Rondo and Big Baby, I mean...
Give him a show.
I don't need to watch him play basketball anymore, but I love watching him on the show.
Matt Dollinger, really appreciate it. Did you know that singer Carrie Underwood was once a standout athlete in high school? Now the former American Idol winner is giving back, making certain that young girls all around the country can develop self-esteem and learn teamwork through sports. Bonnie Bernstein has more.
One of the wonderful things about being involved with Dick's Sporting Goods is that they have an incredible foundation called Sports Matter. The mission is to save youth sports in America. And last year, you through CALIA donated money. You were able to help the girls' programs at your hometown high school in Shakota, Oklahoma. You were able to do the same thing in Houston, and now it's time to make the latest announcement that Kalia and Sports Matter are donating $100,000 each to the DonorsChoose.org site. It's a crowdfunding site, and you will cover all of the women's youth sports initiatives during the month of May.
Yeah.
So all told, you're going to be impacting 100 schools. If you had all of these young women sitting in front of you right now, what would your message to them be?
I mean, enjoy it. You know, it's a wonderful thing to be in group sports and to be a strong female athlete. So do what you do and give it your all, and good things will happen.
You were an athlete, and when you interact with these girls, they know you're an athlete. So how does that help you appreciate being involved with the foundation?
Well, when we went back to my hometown and I got to actually spend the day with some of the local female athletes, it was pretty incredible.
What did they say to you?
They kind of told me what they did and how much the sports programs that they were in meant to them. I mean, it was cool because we kind of had that in common. You know, it's like I played on the same field you're playing on. You know, it was pretty much the same. Not a lot had changed in however many years it was. Let's not go there. But I mean, it was just really cool to be able to just talk with them and being able to say, well, now you're going to have new uniforms and like new equipment and stuff like that. They were just so excited, and it gave them even more to be proud of because they were going to have everything they need to do what they love to do.
What do you and Kalia hope your overall impact will be in the space?
We want to teach young ladies that they are important and they are strong, and we want to give them those opportunities to be able to be a part of a team and learn those life lessons that we were talking about. And we don't want silly things like equipment or you know, not having enough money to be able to support it from your school. Like, we don't want that stuff to be in the way or be a problem.
Bonnie Bernstein is here with us in studio. Okay, from Shakota, Oklahoma to worldwide fame, in what ways did Carrie Underwood's athletic career, high school career, lay the groundwork for being a worldwide superstar and singer?
Well, this is all part of a bigger piece we're working on with Carrie. And it's interesting because people know Carrie Underwood from winning American Idol and going on and being a 7-time Grammy winner to this point. But there was a point earlier in her teens where she was struggling, had a potential contract, and it didn't work out. And I think part of her success has to do with the stick-to-itiveness we learn as athletes to never give up. You know, Carrie talks about the value of practice and learning how to lose, but ultimately, I think what you learn by talking to her, Maggie, is that there are so many characteristics and skill sets that she developed as an athlete that she's parlayed into professional success.
And she's a mini mogul. I mean, it's her face is on everything. She's running everything. I imagine some of the skills that she learned in sports have set her up now for basically being the CEO of Carrie Underwood, Inc.
Well, she's the CEO of, you know, the artistry that is Carrie Underwood, but she's also delving into business. She's developed an athletic wear, an athletic leisure line. It really cool designs called Kalia, and she and her team did an exclusive distribution deal with Dick's Sporting Goods, and she's very hands-on in this company. So she's really been able to leverage her brand, everything that she's learned as an athlete, as an artist, and now she truly is becoming a businesswoman. And so much of that, Maggie, and there's fascinating research out there that points to more than 80% of the female executives in the United States having an athletic background, and just women who participate in sports overall being more successful. And it all comes back to learning all of these different things on the field of play beyond your pure athleticism that are applicable to your adult life.
Have you been to a Carrie Underwood concert? It's athleticism on the stage right there. I can imagine the kind of work that she has to do to get ready for that. I mean, she's on the floor, she's in the sky, she's doing everything and singing.
Yeah, and it's something, so there's two facets to that. Yes, she's on a big stage and she's running around and she's going downstairs, doing all these wardrobe changes, and so she talks about how she ramps up her cardio in the lead up to concerts. But the other thing that's really interesting about Carrie is that she's able to get into her upper register and hold these notes, and it's physically exhausting. So So again, here is her athleticism coming into play, such a pertinent part of preparing to go on tour all across the globe.
That's fantastic. Really, really cool piece talking to Carrie Underwood, of all people, but she has this athletic background. Meanwhile, Bonnie, the news from the sports media world just does not stop.
True.
You had some interesting tweets after Tony Romo was hired to replace Phil Simms.
Yeah.
Let's take a look at a couple of them. I like this. Tony Romo with 0 broadcast experience. Way to go, all caps there, Bonnie. Reportedly replacing Phil Simms on CBS #1 NFL game crew. No offense, but that's total crap.
And it really is no offense to Tony Romo. It wasn't.
I get that. You followed up. I like Tony.
Yes.
As a fan, I hope he'll be a great listen, but I've worked on that crew. I know how tough that gig is. That's all. Okay. Now Jay Cutler has been hired by Fox. For Cutler specifically, what's going to be the biggest challenge for him?
I don't think that Jay's challenge is going to be any different than Tony's challenge or any guy who's coming off the field of play and jumping into the booth. Nobody doubts their expertise in their particular sport, but there's a whole technical side of broadcasting. You know this, I know this, anybody who's done it, that you have to be clear and concise in your commentary, and in between plays, you got 15 seconds. It's completely different than sitting in a production meeting and talking with announcers, which we do in the lead up to games. You also have to be able to work seamlessly with your play-by-play guy. You've got a producer in your ear. You're going over replays. You're going over highlight packages, and there's this immediacy. And Maggie, you have to do that flawlessly because you have one shot, and this is all live. And it's not that anybody doubts Jay Cutler's knowledge or Tony Romo's knowledge or what have you, but I would just, first and foremost, I know so many people in our industry, former athletes and lifelong broadcasters who work tirelessly to hone skill sets, to put themselves in a position to have these opportunities. And I feel for them. And, you know, we've all been there ourselves where, you know, we're looking at a particular job and for whatever reason, it doesn't work out. But more than anything, having worked on that crew for 8 years, having personal relationships with Phil Simms, with Jim Nantz, with the entire crew, there's a lot of pressure being on the #1 crew. And I swear that was my only point. It really was.
No, I think that it was a good point, and one that, you know, perhaps people think that just because this person might be the closest to the game or that they just retired, they just came off the field, that somehow that gives them more insight into how the game is played right now.
You know what? I think that could actually go either way. Maybe you're coming off the field and you understand all of the intricacies of the game in its current state. But I think where the potential downside is that you go from the field to the broadcast booth and you're immediately charged with criticizing your peers or those who were your peers a very short time ago. And a lot of ex-athletes will tell you that it takes a while, it takes a little bit of distance from the game to feel comfortable being critical of the guys on the field.
Although I think with Jay Cutler, he might feel like he's been criticized so much throughout his career.
And he's been a little critical of other people too.
Right.
That
This is time for the big payback. This could be very fun TV. Maybe we're in for something pretty special. You did 2 stints at ESPN. Obviously, this is devastating. The layoffs there, a lot of people that both you and I know. Who were you most shocked got let go from the network?
Gosh, there were so many great broadcasters and friends. I would say 2. Ed Werder, just because he is one of the preeminent NFL insiders. From an analyst standpoint, I would say Trent Dilfer. And Maggie, I remember covering Trent Dilfer when he was playing in the NFL. And I mentioned before, we sit in these production meetings, the reporter, the play-by-play guy, the color guy, and we pick their brains. And there are some players, you just listen to them, and they have this uncanny ability to translate the most intricate pieces of football into language that we as broadcasters all understand. And I remember saying to Trent at one point, I think when he was playing for the Browns or the Niners, I said, you're going to be an incredible analyst. And I do think he is one of the best analysts in the game, and he hasn't even had, you know, a regular opportunity to be up in the booth. So I'd look at somebody like a Trent Dilfer, who is just so articulate on camera, has such a good mind for the game, and good relationships throughout the league. And I think that's the one that really surprised me the most.
Bonnie Bernstein, it's always great to see you.
Great to
and
see you
great
too,
job on the
Maggie.
interview with Carrie Underwood. I know a lot more to come.
Yes, coming out late spring, early summer, hopefully.
Cannot wait.
Thanks.
That's going to do it for this episode of SI Now. Of course, we'll be back tomorrow at 10:30 a.m. Eastern. But until then, keep up with SI.com for all the latest sports news. And don't forget to follow us on Twitter at SI Now Live. Enjoy your Tuesday. We'll see you tomorrow.